Israel's contributions to America's defense are important. Our technology is incredible. And since yours is incredible too, and you're the great champion of liberty and free markets, I think the meshing of our two great countries of talent would strengthen the America's position, competitive position, both in the economic marketplace and in the military battlefield in many important ways.
It certainly brings up some issues of sovereignty, but we'll have to work that out later.
Bit shocking that Fox News' Rachel Campos-Duffy said that at the end, but mainly for 99% of the segment, they let him pretend that Israel and America would both gain from our militaries merging. So I'm very curious about your take on that in a second. But I want to show the audience a little bit more from what Netanyahu said and then get Marjorie Taylor Greene's reaction to it. So let's watch this.
Prime Minister, will that drawing down of foreign aid from the United States to Israel be compensated by the proposal to have a merging of some sort between our Pentagon and your military?
Yeah, I'm calling it from aid to partnership. So we take away the money that is given to Israel, which is one part, but the other part is we co-invest in equal measures in the new technologies that are needed to give our military and your military the advantage. So there are some unbelievable projects. So we invest jointly and take the fruits equally. You move from aid to partnership, and I think that represents what Israel is. And remember, the other thing is that we share with America unbelievable intelligence to save American life. General Keegan has said that when he was working in American intelligence, what Israel was giving the United States was worth, he said, 5 CIAs.
Yet another insult to the Americans, although as we talked to John Kiriakou the other day, he's not entirely sure that the current CIA doesn't work for Israel. In fact, let me show you that clip real quick.
When I first joined the CIA, we did not like the Israelis at all. They were spying on us. They made it clear. They openly spied on us.
Is the CIA working for America or for Israel?
You know, I hate to say this, but the only conclusion that I can draw is that it's working for Israel. And when you have this constant pressure from Capitol Hill, where practically everybody is taking money from AIPAC, and they're primaried if they don't take money from AIPAC, or if they don't toe the line that AIPAC sets, then you lose that independence, and the next thing you know, you are working for the Israelis.
Yeah, our guest host today, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she wouldn't know anything about that. We'll come to her in 1 second because I want to show you one last clip that's so important. How many of you guys are guilty of doom scrolling late at night on social media, looking at the news and then wondering why you can't fall asleep? Nothing pairs worse with trying to wind down than a bright screen lighting up your face and headlines playing on a loop in your head. Here's what's actually happening. The stress, the screen time, it all raises your core body temperature. And a body that's too warm can't get into deep sleep. Trust me, getting your sleep environment under control can change everything. Enter ChiliPad 2.0, the water-based mattress topper that actively controls your bed temperature from 55 to 115 degrees all night long. No new mattress, no renovation. It actively cools using just water. Fans only move hot air around. ChiliPad actually pulls heat away from your body. Precise, consistent comfort, and the new nightstand remote senses when you get into bed and kicks on automatically. Dual zones mean you and your partner each set your own temperature, no subscription needed. You get a 2-year warranty, and they're designed and assembled right here in the USA. Visit www.sleep.me/TYT to get up to $255 off your ChiliPad 2.0 with code TYT. That's www.sleep.me/TYT. Free shipping, free returns, and a 30-night trial so you can test it out, dream big, and wake up better. The headlines will still be there in the morning. You might as well wake up ready for them. Almost all of the media in America is lying on behalf of Israel as usual and pretending that they don't want any more money. But Benjamin Netanyahu actually clarified that in this same interview. Watch this.
Do you have a timeline by which you would like to see that US foreign aid down to zero?
Yes, it's military aid actually. Yeah, we were talking about beginning it this year and going for 10 years, but we might shorten it. And that was something, by the way, that I did when I was first elected and came to Congress. We had financial, not military support, but financial aid to Israel, and I said. On my first speech before the joint session of Congress, that we're going to bring it down to zero, and we did that in 10 years. Every year went down until it finally disappeared. We could talk about that model. We're talking about that with the administration right now.
That's hilarious. He's like, we don't want any more money, except for the next 10 years. And at the end of that, we can ask for more money and there's nothing stopping us. So no, they definitely want 10 more years of funding, and they'd like to merge our militaries through Section 219. Marjorie, what do you think of that?
Well, you have to fact check me on this, but I think it was Marco Rubio who introduced that bill that made it 10 years. If my recollection is correct, I think it was Marco Rubio that got that put into place in the first place when he was a senator. I think it's outrageous. Let me tell you, this is the most dangerous thing that our current Congress and leadership is doing to this country. It is literally, once it's done, it's permanent and it will be completely invisible to the American people, at least right now. And I never voted for it. I was always against it. The $3.8 billion that goes to Israel every single year is something that you, the American people, can see and you can know about. But once this fusion happens between our military intelligence and the Israeli intelligence, and they're sharing all types of government contracts, building weapons, and they're sharing all of this together, this will be something that you cannot see. This will be something that will be completely invisible to you, and it will cost a great deal more amount of money than $3.8 billion. This is what you should be screaming from the rooftops over and calling in every single day. But let me tell you something, they are going to push this through, and that's the terrifying part. And here, I'll give you something. Democrats, if you put as much pressure as possible on your Democrat representatives and your Democrat senators, there's a chance that you could possibly get it to stop, but the Republicans are committed to getting it done. And that's what they're going to do, because this is what Trump wants. This is what the White House wants. Don't forget the chief of staff is a former lobbyist for Israel and many defense companies. This is exactly what Netanyahu wants, and this is the deal of a lifetime. So you talk about the art of the deal, it's getting done in this one. And just before I came on your show tonight, Cenk, I looked it up. I looked on the Rules Committee, and I did not see the NDAA scheduled this week on rules. That is something that could change. Oftentimes, just because you don't see it on Monday doesn't mean that it gets added to the schedule. Thomas Massey has an amendment to remove Section 219 from the NDAA. 219 is a section that passes this insane measure, absolutely insane. And it would be great if everyone can support it. However, I would be shocked. I would be shocked if his amendment makes it to the floor for a vote, because Speaker Johnson, one of the biggest Zionists in Washington, will do everything he can from stopping this and allowing this merger to take place. But when it comes to talking about Israeli intelligence, a lot of that is lies. That's lies that gets told to people like President Trump. It gets told to many members of Congress so that they end up supporting something that they should never be supporting in the first place. That's what Israeli intelligence does. And I can tell you, most of the security briefings that I ever attended, classified briefings as a member of Congress, the stuff that they would tell us in there was so ridiculous. It was either straight up propaganda to get us to vote a certain way, or it was garbage that was already out in the New York Times and in the mainstream media. And they were telling it to us and trying to make members of Congress feel all special because they were getting a classified security briefing. So the games are absolutely shocking. And I can tell you for a fact that most of your representatives and senators are just not even intelligent enough or informed enough to see through the that they are fed every single day, especially when it comes to Israeli intelligence.
Well, there was one thing that Netanyahu was telling the truth about in that clip. He said, we give you unbelievable intelligence. That's true. It's not believable at all. Okay. And
fair point, Jay.
Yeah. I mean, and even the New York Times covered it in the beginning of this war, the Iran war, they came in and said, oh, Iran will never be able to close the Strait of Hormuz. And you'll be able to do a regime change really quickly. That's the invaluable intelligence they give us. And look, honestly, unless they're in on it, everyone in American media and in American politics, or almost everyone, is really the dimmest bulbs there is in the country. Any foreign government, of course, is going to give you intelligence for their own benefit. They're not gonna be like, oh, you know what, this one doesn't help us at all. It's kind of counter to our interests, but here's some intelligence. No, they give you intelligence for their own benefit. Like, you'd really have to be single digits in IQ not to know that. And so now when they merge our militaries, they get about a $1 to $1.5 trillion of free money from us in all the money we spend on technology, data, our military, et cetera. And to back up what Representative Greene was saying, Marco Rubio did introduce the last 10-year memorandum of understanding. If you don't know, Larry Ellison, in an email that Dropsite News obtained, told the Israeli ambassador to the UN, I'll vet Marco Rubio for Israel. And then he did, and he came back and he said, I gave him $5 million into his super PAC, and he is going to basically work for Israel now. And so he did in Congress. He works for them in the administration. And by the way, his co-sponsor on that bill was Chris Coons, Joe Biden's top ally in the Senate. Joe Biden's top donor lifetime, also Israel. Has Israel given money to Chris Coons on the Democratic side? Of course, they've given to 94% of Congress. And that Massey amendment that Representative Greene just referred to is the Massey-Kana amendment. So who are they attacking right now in the press? Ro Khanna. Who did the Israeli lobby spend $16 million defeating? Tom Massey. So this is super obvious to anyone paying attention. But all of our press and all of our politicians go, no, I can't see it. I can't see the obvious corruption. And so last one here, Marjorie. How devastating is it if we do this merger? How hard will it be to reverse it?
Well, it's catastrophic. It'll be basically irreversible. Look how hard it is for Americans to defeat an incumbent in a primary on both sides of the aisle. You can hardly ever defeat an incumbent. It's very, very difficult. Can you imagine how hard it would be to get people elected that would undo that? That would take decades. Absolutely take decades if it could ever happen. Once Congress sets something in motion, they never undo it, Cenk, ever. You can look at every single government program. There's many bills that were passed that never have sunset clauses. They don't end anything. Once it sets in motion, it's the most dangerous thing that could happen for the United States, because the American military, our United States military, all of a sudden becomes the tool for Israel. And that's exactly what they want. This is why Netanyahu calls President Trump constantly, why he's visited the United States so many times, why AIPAC and all of the Israeli lobby woos our elected officials and does everything they can do to bring them into that propaganda train, because they want more than anything to control the United States military. Well, guess what? They're about to get it. And it'll be something that's completely invisible to you all. No one will know what's happening. You don't know what happens and what is shared in these closed door meetings. You don't know what type of intelligence is shared between countries. This is something you rarely find out about. You can know about $3.8 billion that shouldn't be sent to them anyways. That's one thing you can see. But once this happens, you won't know anything. But you will see Israel use our military and abuse our military into, I would imagine, all types of horrors.
Unfortunately, that sounds exactly right. All right, Marjorie Taylor Greene, thank you so much for joining us on the Young Turks today. Really appreciate it. And
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And look, I know some on both sides are opposed to us talking together and us working together on ending the war and ending our so-called alliance with Israel and all of our endless funding of Israel. But I love that the right and the left are getting together on behalf of America. I think it's actually one of the most positive developments I have had in our lifetimes. So thank you for being a part of it. I
totally agree. Thank you, Cenk. The only people against us talking together are the Zionists. Have you ever noticed that? It's the bots in the comments and the Zionists. They want to keep us divided because the left and right comes together on this issue. We will defeat them and we'll take our country back.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, when we come back, the Iran war is back on, and this time for real. And here we go. And it seems like nobody in Washington really understands what's going to happen next. We'll talk about that. And is Mitch McConnell dead or alive? People are still debating it for good reason. We'll be right back. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.